I've got 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers that I think you need to go try to buy low on right now if you can before their value starts to go up. Now, before you go out and buy low on these players, don't forget to also set your underdog picks for week 4. Pick'ems are already live for the week 4 NFL slate. And if you're new to underdog and haven't tried it yet, they're going to give you this new customer special, Dak Prescott only needing half a yard. That's a free pick right there that you can use with any other pick to get an easy win right out of the gate. Just make sure when you do sign up for Underdog, you use promo code ENDGAME, because not only is that going to get you this free Dak Prescott pick, it's also going to get you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Go to Underdog, join using promo code ENDGAME right now, and get those picks in. My first buy low running back is Aaron Jones, who I feel like has quietly been really good this year. He's currently the RB4 in PPR leagues, but it doesn't feel like people are viewing him as the RB4 in PPR leagues. And when you look in week 3, he completely reasserted himself as the clear number 1 running back here. He had 19 carries to Ty Chandler only having 6 carries. And he also had the only 6 running back targets in this backfield. I mean, he's getting close to elite usage here. And we can't be scared about this Vikings offense. They have been great. And not only has the offense been great, but so has the defense, which is giving the offense more opportunities to possess the ball, run the ball. Game script should be good with him. I mean, the only thing you really have to worry about here with Aaron Jones is, can he hold up for a full season, which is what you always got to worry about with Aaron Jones. But if he does, you're getting at worst a high-end RB2, if not a low-end RB1, and that is not how he's being valued in fantasy right now. In fact, if you take a look at the trade value chart on Fantasy Calc, which uses almost 3 million real trades made across real fantasy leagues to get an accurate depiction of how fantasy players are valuing these guys, Aaron Jones is being valued similarly to guys like Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco, who's hurt. I mean, these guys are good. These guys are solid running backs, but I would take Aaron Jones here. And if you're going to make a move, I mean, certainly I would trade any of those running backs for Aaron Jones, but I mean, look at the wide receivers here as well. Like Stephon Diggs, what's the ceiling for Stephon Diggs? Just give me Aaron Jones at this point. Jalen Waddle, I mean, yes, I still like Jalen Waddle when Tua comes back, but if you need a running back, just go get Aaron Jones. Same with a guy like George Pickens. I mean, yes, I still believe in George Pickens, but if he's like your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, and you need a running back, just go get Aaron Jones. Same with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Michael Pittman, if somebody's willing to give you Aaron Jones for Michael Pittman, take it here. And then looking at the tight ends here, if somebody still believes that Travis Kelce is going to turn into vintage Travis Kelce, get rid of him, get Aaron Jones. And same with Sam Laporta. Honestly, if people think they're going to get the tight end 1 this year, not only that, he's kind of dealing with an ankle injury, nothing serious, but people still might believe in Sam Laporta. If I can get Aaron Jones for those tight ends, absolutely doing it. And then going a little bit deeper here, I mean, running back Bucky Irving, I think, is a tremendous buy low right now, assuming he's not on waivers. If he's on waivers, go pick him up. But in a lot of leagues, he is rostered, and we are starting to see the takeover of this backfield. He out-carried Rachaad White 9-6 in week 3, and he also had 3 targets, which is something we hadn't seen so far. Like, Rachaad White was still the clear pass-catching back. Now, I know Rachaad White was a little banged up, but man, Bucky Irving has just been so much better than Rachaad White all season long. In fact, he had the only 2 runs of over 10 yards in week 3, and I think he's had the only runs of over 10 yards all season here for these guys. The Bucs are just going to have no choice but to give Bucky Irving more and more work in this offense. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point Bucky Irving is getting the majority of the touches in this offense, because he has just been so much better. And he's pretty much free in your fantasy leagues, again, assuming he's not just sitting out there on your waiver wire. And when we look at the trade calculator on Fantasy Calc, he's not even listed. That's how free he is. I mean, look, Cam Akers, yeah, okay, he's probably going to have 1, maybe 2 more usable weeks, but what's really the upside here? Give me a guy like Bucky Irving. Zeke, I mean, really, Zeke? Come on, just give me Bucky Irving. Jaylen Warren, now dealing with a knee issue. Carson Steele, again, might only have value until Pacheco comes back. Just give me Bucky Irving. A wide receiver, okay, I do like Quentin Johnson and Alec Pierce, but Demarcus Robinson did not come through being the wide receiver 1 for the Rams. I would give him up for Bucky. I'd give up Lockett for Bucky. Maybe not Sutton, maybe not Judy or Coleman, but I would give up those guys. And then if you have 2 QBs on your roster, guys like Geno, Trevor Lawrence, Stafford, Cousins, and somebody in your league is desperate for a QB, go see if one of these guys can get you Bucky Irving. And same with a tight end like TJ Hawkinson, even Isaiah Likely, who had a bunch of steam after week 1. We don't know when we're going to see Hawkinson, likely doing nothing again. Go get a guy like Bucky Irving, who could be the RB1 in Tampa Bay at some point. Now, if you're looking for a running back who's more usable right now and is still a great buy low and won't cost you a lot, that is Devin Singletary of the New York Giants. Back-to-back really strong games here. And when you look at on the season, he's handled 80% of the running back carries and 63% of the running back targets. I mean, this guy is a true workhorse running back, but he's on the Giants. People still have doubts, like, okay, is this guy really going to be this good? Look, maybe he won't be, but you're talking about a workhorse running back who at worst is an RB2 for fantasy rest of the season. And if you need somebody this week, like if you're struggling at running back, he gets the Cowboys, who right now are by far the worst run defense in the NFL. He's going to get all the touches here. And even when game script goes against the Giants, which is going to happen very often this year, he still catches plenty of passes, so you don't have to worry about him getting completely phased out. And again, when you look here, he's being ranked around running backs like Najee Harris. Really? Like, what's the upside for Najee Harris? DeAndre Swift, who's been terrible. Zach Charbonnet, who, sure, he's been good because Kenneth Walker is out. When Kenneth Walker comes back, his value is going to go back to being a handcuff. Why not just go get Devin Singletary now before Kenneth Walker comes back and actually have a workhorse running back who should be that rest of the season? And when you look at these wide receivers here, yeah, it was great what Rashid Shaheed did the first 2 weeks, but we saw last week, like, if he doesn't do that, what are you really getting from him? I would move Shaheed for a running back like Singletary if I needed running back. Same with a guy like Jordan Addison, rookie Ladd McConkey. These guys don't do anything for me. If I have these guys just sitting on my bench, I'll go try to get Singletary. And then I'd pretty much be willing to move the same guys I just talked about for running back Jerome Ford. He once again reasserted himself as the clear RB1 in Cleveland, which I kind of thought, like if you watch our live streams, I said, you know, I feel like this happened a few times last year, and then they would go back to just giving Jerome Ford the ball a bunch. Now, they didn't give it to him a bunch because they couldn't run the ball a bunch because, of course, they were losing to the mighty New York Giants. Don't ask me how that happened. But he still had 10 carries to Foreman's 2, and he had all 4 of the running back targets here. He's the clear RB1 in this offense. There is no sign of Nick Chubb coming back anytime soon. There is no threat to his workload here. Sure, he's going to be volatile because he's stuck in this Browns offense with Deshaun Watson, who might legit be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. But, you know, maybe at some point Deshaun Watson gets hurt, quits, gets suspended, and we get to see Jameis Winston or something. But still, if you're just looking for like a solid low-end RB2 who's not going to cost you much at all, go out, try to get Jerome Ford. I already talked about some guys being valued in that same range with Devin Singletary. If you can't get Singletary, Ford is not a bad fallback option. Now, at wide receiver, I'm once again going to start with Tyreek Hill, who is seeing his value drop and drop, just coming off 2 bad games in a row. Of course, 2 weeks ago, Tua got hurt early in the third quarter, and then this week he had to play with a combination of Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. Not ideal for fantasy, but here's why I think Tyreek Hill might be the best buy low in all of fantasy football right now. All signs are pointing to Tua being ready to go as soon as his IR stint is up. That means you got 3 more games with a probably not very good Tyreek Hill, but then you get Tua back and you get Tyreek Hill full go, ready to go for the rest of the fantasy season. Nothing we have seen should make us feel like Tua isn't going to come back. He's with the team, he's traveling with the team, he's there every day. He is going to be back in 3 weeks, ready to go. In fact, he could probably play now if he wanted to, but they're being smart with him, putting him on IR, giving him time. This is a time to try to go out and get Tyreek Hill. Now, when you look on the trade value chart, you still see very strong players being ranked around Tyreek Hill, like Kamara, Taylor, AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison. What you want to do here is kind of like a potential 2-for-1. So you want to look for like a decent running back, like maybe a Ramondre Stevenson, maybe a Rashad White, guys like that, and then decent wide receivers like a Stephon Diggs. Some guys I already talked about, Stephon Diggs, maybe George Pickens, maybe guys like that, maybe Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta if people still believe in those guys at tight end. You want to package 2 of these type of players together to go get Tyreek Hill. That way you don't hurt your top end value, your studs, but eventually you get another stud added to your roster. So look, I'm probably going to have Tyreek Hill on here again next week and probably the week after because he's probably not going to be very good. But you never know. If he goes off this week, suddenly the buy low window might slam shut. So just go get him now and ride the probably not very good 3 weeks coming up ahead, but you'll be okay. You can survive. Another kind of elite wide receiver I'm looking to buy low this week is Brandon Ayuk. Obviously was majorly overshadowed by Juwan Jennings in week 3, but he still had a 33% target share here. He still had 10 targets. And look, at some point, not only is his 49ers offense going to get fully healthy, but Brandon Ayuk is going to get rolling. He's too good of a wide receiver not to. All signs are pointing to Brandon Ayuk exploding at some point here. Kind of like Chris Olave and Amari Cooper last week, where I said, look, signs are pointing to these guys potentially exploding. It happened. You don't want to wait for that to happen because then the buy low window will close. So why not just go out and get them now? Look, Juwan Jennings isn't going to have a game like that again. In fact, if anybody's going to have a game like that again in week 4, it's probably going to be Aiyuk because he's probably going to be the one featured in week 4. But either way, go out, get them now, because look, we're not trying to win week 4. I mean, yes, we're trying to win week 4, but we're trying to win a fantasy championship. We got a guy who could potentially be a stud down the stretch and in the fantasy playoffs, and that is Brandon Aiyuk. And when you look at like running backs being valued similarly to him, I like James Conner. I think James Conner will bounce back, but like if James Conner's my RB3, RB4, which he probably is for your team based on where he was drafted, go out, get yourself Brandon Aiyuk. Same thing with Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, he had a down game, but I mean, look, he was great the first 2 weeks. He still has value, as does J.K. Dobbins. I still think J.K. Dobbins will be good, but look, if people still think J.K. Dobbins is going to be elite, go get Brandon Aiyuk. Or look at the wide receivers going around Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, Cooper Kupp, yeah, he was great, and then he hurt his ankle, and we don't know when he's going to be back, and when he comes back, is he going to struggle off that ankle? And by the way, Puka's going to be back too. I would just take Brandon Aiyuk right now. Same with DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs. I know Caleb Williams showed some signs, but I still have my doubts about DJ Moore being like a consistent weekend stud in fantasy, and I've already talked about Stephon Diggs a bunch, and honestly, I would give up Drake London. Coming off a nice game, sure, but just give me the upside of Brandon Aiyuk. And again, I'll say the same thing about the tight ends here. Somebody values Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride more than Brandon Aiyuk. Just give me Brandon Aiyuk. All right, now I know it's not always possible to go get those, buy low studs in fantasy. So let's go down a little bit. Let's talk about wide receiver Jayden Reed. Had a fantastic week 1 and then kind of been a little invisible the last 2 weeks. I mean, he did a little something in week 3, but nothing that should make people excited. But here's why I think Jayden Reed is a guy you need to try to go out and get right now, because there's a good chance we're going to see Jordan Love in week 4. And if it's not week 4, it's almost certainly going to be week 5. And once the Packers say, hey, that's it, Jordan Love is playing, people aren't going to be as willing to part with Jayden Reed. So this is your last chance probably to go out and try to get Jayden Reed. This is a guy who can be a game changer for your fantasy team, and he's not going to cost you as much as a Tyreek Hill or a Brandon Aiyuk. And you look here, I mean, he's being valued similarly to guys like Isaiah Pacheco, who I'm big on Isaiah Pacheco, but he's dealing with an injury right now. We don't know what that timeline is. Najee Harris, come on, just give me Jayden Reed. And I know I just called Devin Singletary a buy low, and I think he's a great buy low, but if you already have Devin Singletary and you're deep at running back, I think it's fine to flip him for Jayden Reed. And then looking at the wide receivers here, I mean, yeah, I still believe in Tank Dell, but don't these guys kind of feel similar? But I probably prefer Jayden Reed here. In fact, I definitely prefer Jayden Reed with Jordan Love. Same with JSN. Just give me Jayden Reed. Don't have to worry about it. And again, if anybody still believes in Michael Pittman or Calvin Ridley or even Xavier Worthy or Rashid Shaheed, to be honest, I'll take Jayden Reed. And then I'll say the same thing here. If people still believe that Dalton Kincaid, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts are just going to be game changers at the tight end position, I'll trade those guys. I'll stream. I'll take Jayden Reed. I mean, you see Mark Andrews there, but yeah, that probably needs to go down. I doubt anybody is taking Mark Andrews for Jayden Reed. And then finally, a wide receiver that probably doesn't feel like a buy low because you just had a huge week 3. That's Deontay Johnson of the Carolina Panthers. But look, a lot of people are still going to be like, okay, it was one game. Andy Dalton, they're going to be skeptical here, and they might think they're actually selling high on Deontay Johnson, but I think it's the opposite. I think you need to go out and get Deontay Johnson right now before he has another big game. He had a 37% target share with Andy Dalton. And look, I talked about it. Andy Dalton is not going to be afraid to sling it. Why? He's 36 years old. He's not, playing to prove he can still be an NFL starter. He's just out there going to sling it. And look, Dave Canales, despite what happened with Bryce Young the first 2 games, I still believe in this guy as a great offensive mind, great for quarterbacks. And he talked all offseason, Deontay Johnson, he's our guy. And then what did we see when they finally had a quarterback that could throw the ball? Deontay Johnson, head and shoulders the guy in this offense. But again, your league mates might just be thinking hey, this is a one-game random thing, and now I have a chance to sell high. Take advantage of that and instead go buy low. And then again, you see here on Fantasy Calc, Javonte Williams, Raheem Mostert, Zamir White. I don't know if anybody's taking those guys for Deontay Johnson, but I would certainly give him up. But maybe if we go up a little bit here, like Austin Eckler, Zach Charbonnet. Again, Zach Charbonnet going to go back to a handcuff maybe as soon as this week. DeAndre Swift, if anybody still believes. Zach Moss, if anybody still believes. Give me Deontay Johnson over all those guys. And then a wide receiver, give me Deontay Johnson over Kirk, over Addison, over McConkey, Shakir, Judy, Coleman. Any of those guys except maybe not Rome Odunze, but I'd probably take him over Rome Odunze, to be honest. And then look, this is a great time to sell on Dallas Goedert. If you have Dallas Goedert, maybe he's your tight end 2. You drafted somebody that you feel good about. Maybe you got Brock Bowers, maybe Trey McBride. We'll see about the concussion. But, if you feel good about your tight end 1, take advantage of this. A.J. Brown will be back at some point. Devonta Smith might not even miss a game. Like, Dallas Goedert is not going to do this every week. Sell high on Dallas Goedert. Get Deontay Johnson. All right, so now you know the top players to go out and try to buy low in week 4, but you also need to know who you're going to get off the waiver wire. Which players should you or should you not be panicking about? And don't forget start sits and all that. We got you covered in our week 4 playlist. You can find it right here.